Hello and welcome. We're going to make a little mitten toy for our cat friends today. It doesn't have to be for a cat. You could always just put an extra string at the top and hang it on your Christmas tree if you wanted to. The things you'll need to make one of these are going to be worsted weight yarn in whatever colors you'd like. You don't have to do the two separate colors. It could be all one color. You want a 4mm crochet hook. You're going to want some yarn needles, scissors. If your cat likes catnip and you're giving it to a cat, maybe some dry catnip and some sort of stuffing. Those are all the things you'll need, and I will talk you through the pattern as we go. To start our mitten, we're going to take whichever color you want the bottom bit of the mitten to be. We're going to cross it long end over the short, holding right where they cross. We're going to reach through and just pull up a loop to make our slip knot. Putting our hook in there, and then you just kind of pull on the two ends to make it fit the hook. And we're going to chain for 25. So we're wrapping our yarn over the hook, and we're going to pull it through that little loop. I'm just going to keep doing that until you've done it 25 times. Once you have all 25, we're going to make sure they're all facing the same way. We're going to bring that beginning end to where we just finished, bringing our hook into that very first little loop there, wrapping the yarn on the hook, and we're going to slip through both of those. There we go. Now we're going to chain one and working our way around this little loop we just created. Always making sure that the stitches are facing toward you, so you always work in the same direction. We're going to go in to the chain. We're going to wrap, pull up. We'll wrap and pull through those two. So we're just single crocheting into the chain all the way around. So when you get to the end, you should have 24 stitches. So keep going, go ahead. When we finished our 24 single crochets, we're going to take our hook into that very first single crochet. We're going to wrap, pull through, and then we're going to pull through that last one to slip stitch, joining them up. Then we're going to single crochet, then we're going to chain one to get us ready for our next single crochet. So this one's going to be a little different. We're going through the front post instead of the loops at the top. So we're going underneath the top loops through the front, and then we're going to wrap, we're going to pull up. So now it's just like a single crochet from here. So you wrap, pull through those last two. So we're alternating between the front post and the back post. So this time we're going to the back of our little piece. We're going in and then back out. So that hook's on the back side. We're going to wrap, pull through. So now again, it's just like a regular single crochet, wrap, pull through those two on the hook. So we're repeating that all the way around. So you're going through the front first, and then on the next one you're going through the back to get into the post. And we're going to keep repeating all the way around. When you get to the end, you should have 24 total stitches, 12 of each. So go ahead and finish that up and we'll get back together. Now that we finished those, that's our ribbing done. We're going to switch to the main color of the mitten, unless you're keeping the mitten all one color. So before we join that round, we're going to go ahead and tie on our next color. So if you're making it for a cat, you want to make sure you double knot. If it's just for your tree, you could probably just do a single knot and it would be a-okay. We're going to cut this part away. So once we've tied that on, we're just tucking the tails kind of down out of the way. They'll end up in the toy later. So now we're going to find our very first stitch and slip stitch through there, through that last one. We'll chain one. And we are going to be just making plain single crochets across the top of here. So you have 24 stitches, and when you finish all of the single crochets on this round, you should still have 24 stitches. So you're just going in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through both. So we're back on going through our little V's at the top rather than the posts. So just regular single crochet. So keep going. We'll do this round And then I think we've got one more, but we'll go ahead and finish this one first, and then we'll talk about what comes next. Our first round of just plain red is done. We've slip stitched to join, we've chained one, and then we've got one more plain single crochet round. So we'll go ahead and do just exactly that again, a single crochet in each stitch. We'll join, we'll chain one, and then we'll get back together for round 5. Okay, that last plain round is done. For the next one, we're going to single crochet 9. So the next 9 stitches get 1 single crochet each. We're going to keep going around. We got a few more here. Once we get to that 9th one, we're going to skip 6 stitches. So we finish our 9 single crochet, we're going to skip the next 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going into that 7th spot there. And just kind of folding it in half a little bit so they line up. And we're going to pull up and finish that single crochet. And now we're just finishing the rest of the way down this way. So we're ignoring those 6 stitches. Those are going to be the thumb of our mitten later. And we're going to do 9 stitches here. After we finish these 9 stitches, we're going to join, we're going to chain 1. And then we've got some plain single crochet rounds for the next 5 rows. So round 6 through 10 will all be plain single crochets. You should have 18 stitches because you're just working that center part, ignoring that little thumb hole there. So we'll join this, we'll chain 1, and then 5 plain single crochet rounds. And then we'll get back together to work on finishing off the top of the fingers here. And then we'll do the thumb and we'll close at the bottom. So we're almost there. We've finished all of our plain rounds. We're ready to start our decreases for the top here. So we have 18 stitches across the top. We're going to go into the first one, 1 plain single crochet, and then those next 2 stitches we're going to work together. So we're going through the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. And then we're going to wrap, pull through both those loops. We're going to wrap, pull through the 2 on the hook. And we're going to keep repeating that pattern all the way around. So 1 plain single crochet, and then the next 2 stitches get worked together to turn them into 1. So when we get to the end, we'll have gone from 18 stitches back down to 12. We will join that round, we'll chain 1, and then for the very last round, it's just decreases all the way around. So I don't think we have to work on it together really. So you finish this one, we will join, chain. So our last decrease round, we've joined, we've chained. All we're doing is decreasing all the way around. So each 2 stitches you have, you're going into the front loops, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2. So you're making every 2 stitches into 1. When we finish that last increase, we'll cut our yarn. We're going to tie off that last one by wrapping over the hook, pull it through. Now we're going to take our yarn needle and thread the tail onto our yarn needle. We're using that tail to weave through the remaining stitches. And that's just going to help us close up this last hole. So going in and out of each one, you should have 6, so you'll go through 3 times. And then once you're there, you're going to pull on that thread. That's going to close up the little hole at the top there. And we're just going to tie 1 knot. So we're going to go through anywhere where you feel like it'll help the yarn lay flat. And then go back through to create 1 more knot. And we're going to make that as tight as we can, just kind of pulling on it and moving that knot down as much as possible. Sorry about the dogs. The mailman's probably here. And once you've done that, we'll send the needle with the tail attached back inside the toy, and that's just going to hide our tail on there. And yeah. So now that we finished with the top, we're going into the thumb. So any of those stitches, wherever you feel like it makes sense for you to start, we're going to put our hook into one of those there, and we are going to leave the hook in there And just to make a little knot. And the end of the tail, the short end of the tail there, the part you're not working with, is going to just get tucked back down through the hole. So now that that yarn's there, we're going to pull up one loop, and then we're going back into the same place where we attached the yarn to start our first single crochet. And then we're just single crocheting around that little hole. So we left 6 stitches there, so we should still have 6 when we get back to the beginning. The first one's a little fiddly because you're so close to the little hand part of the mitten. But once we get back there, we're going to join, and then it'll be quite a bit easier from there. So once we have all those stitches worked, we're going over, making as much tension as you can from one side to the other, just to bring them as close together as you can so we don't have any little gaps or holes there. Right into that first stitch. I still haven't found my favorite hook. The hook I'm working with is like not the best shape at the top. So we'll wrap, pull through, and pull through that last one. Okay, so now we're ready for a couple of plain rounds here. We're going to keep going single crocheting around for the next 3 rounds. So we're doing 3 plain single crochet rounds, chain 1, and then we're diving through, making those 6 stitches all the way around. We'll join and keep going. Once you have all 3 of those, we'll get back together, we'll close up the thumb, and then we've only got one last round to go. It's closing up the very bottom, so we've got to finish this, close it off, add our stuffing if you want to, catnip if you want to, and closer at the bottom. So we are very, very close. Keep going. I will see you at the end of the thumb. All of our thumb rounds are finished. We're going to go ahead and cut that yarn away. So we've joined, but we haven't chained here. We're just going to wrap the yarn over the hook, pull through that last loop to tie it off, taking our yarn needle, we'll thread that on, and then we're closing it up exactly the same way we did the top part of the hand. We are just taking it into the very first stitch, out through the next, and then repeating that 2 more times. So going in, coming out, oops. And once we finish this 3rd one, we're just going to take the tail and pull until the thumb is all closed up, making that knot or that closure as tight as we can. And then we're going to make our little knot going in wherever you think the yarn might lay flat. Usually try to get just one kind of strand of the yarn. I'm just making a simple knot. And pulling that as tight as we can. We're going to send that tail back inside the thumb, pulling that through. And then if you wanted to shorten any of these like sticky outy tails, you can. Well, we're just going to be stuffing them inside. So if there's too much of them, feel free to trim them. But if you can just kind of easily tuck them back in here, go ahead and do that. So now we're going to do the very bottom. So if you use a different color for your ribbing, you're going to grab that yarn again. If you don't want to put anything in it, you totally don't have to. If this isn't going to like hang on a Christmas tree or something, and just add a piece of thread at the top, you can hang it just like this, a little flat mitten. Or if you do want to stuff it and it's not for a cat, you don't have to put catnip in it. Even if it is for a cat, you totally don't have to. But we're going to put catnip into the hand part if you are adding catnip. And then we'll add just enough stuffing to make it kind of fluff up a little bit. And once you've done that, we'll get back together to do this bottom bit here. So now we are ready for the bottom bit. We're going to attach the yarn, again, sort of anywhere you want to start. We are wrapping that over the hook to bring it through. We'll tie a knot and tuck the tail to the inside, keeping our hook in there as we tie the knot to make sure that the knot doesn't disappear. And we will chain 1. And then we're going to go into the first one there that we just worked. We're going to wrap, pull up. We're going to go into the next stitch. We're going to wrap, pull up again. Now we're going to wrap and pull through all 3 of those little loops that are on the hook right now. And we're going to do the same thing all the way around. So we're going in, since this is like our starting chain here that we're working into, there's only going to be one side of it, so we can't do our front loop only trick really. So we're just going in, going into the next, and pull through all 3. So I'll show you guys that one last time. We're going in, wrap the yarn, go in the next stitch, wrap, pull up, and then we wrap to pull through all 3. So keep doing that all the way until you're back at the beginning. We will join them and then we will finish closing it up. Our final decrease round is done. We've joined. We're going to leave our hook in there for a moment while we cut that yarn away, maybe drop some things. Your call. Anyway, we're going to wrap our yarn over our hook. We're going to pull through that last string, making that knot as tight as we can. We're going to grab our yarn needle, we're threading it in, and then we're going to take that yarn needle with the tail threaded on in and out of these last 12 open stitches here. And once we get to, we're back to the beginning, we'll do the same thing we did with the thumb and the top of the fingers, except this is going to be our very last one to do. Once we get there, so we got a few more stitches than we normally would close up on, but don't worry, it will close up just fine here. And there we are. So we're gonna tug on that so it all comes together nice, making it as snug as you can, grabbing a single thread of yarn, again anywhere you feel like that little knot will lay flat, and then we're going to make that knot as tight as we can. That's just going to help secure our little closure there, and then sending that through anywhere you want. Once you have that tail pulled back through the toy, we're going to put a little tension on it before we snip it off, and then it'll just kind of disappear right back in there. So now our little mitten is all done. So you could give this to your cat friend, you could put a little extra string at the top, put it on a Christmas tree. It sits or stands up fine by itself just like that. So if you want to just put it on a shelf or something, whatever you need it for, you're all done and it's all ready. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had fun. Bye. Apologies in advance for the sound of my voice throughout this. I am very allergic to cats, and normally we don't have too many cats in the house, but our shelter that we volunteer with just got extra cats, so there are more cats in the house today and I am very stuffy.